idea that being a good man gets you a good woman is a lie.
Michael Sartain,
a retired United States Air Force captain,
founder of Men of Action,
where he teaches men
how to make high-status friends
and become a local celebrity.
Red Pill has become this tool with which to attack people who have ideologies that you don't agree with, regardless of how much they make sense. I can show you a study that when men don't make very much money, the likelihood of them going a year without sex escalates. That's not my opinion. That is a statistic, and that makes people furious at me. I need to preserve my reputation. To get a good woman is a lie. You live in a country where a man a porn star while his wife was pregnant and became president of the United States. Like, you can up so bad and nobody cares. As men make more money, do they care how much money their wives make?
No.
They don't. It's so funny. And how'd you get this right? Are you an evolutionary psychologist? No, you just have a brain. You know what the truth is here. When I debate people in evolutionary psychology, I realize I'm not debating evolutionary psychology. I'm debating evolution. These people don't even believe in Darwin. Something that is true cannot be sexist.
Right.
Something that is true cannot be racist. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and tell you I'm telling women to never sleep with anyone. What I'm telling you is I have the right to also be selective and not date them. I'm sorry. I'm going to say something that's going to disappoint a lot of guys. There's women who are liking your comments will never sleep with you.
your best advice for men?
You're going to chase money first before women, and you'll get the women. You chase women first, you're not going to get the money. It's not how it works.
Kickin' Ass, Taking Names podcast, and today we are here with the Michael Sartain, Men of Action. This guy has former military experience. Thank you for your service. I just found this out. You were in the Afghanistan war.
Yo, I was one of the few people, because I flew a KC-135, where I was in Afghanistan one day and Iraq the next.
Yeah.
Like, I would be in Afghanistan 3 days a week and Iraq 3 days a week, because the KC-135, we would fly out of Abu Dhabi.
Wait, when did you leave the military? How old were you?
I was 33.
33. So from the military, and then started a personal brand. We're going to figure that out right now. And really, I seen you online and I'm like, this is like the LA Nightlife guy, or what is this? Like, so confusing. See you at Ties and it completely changes the perception, right? And I think that's what's awesome is people who see this, they might not be your typical watchers, and then now they're going to be able to see like, oh shoot, like Michael's actually not, he gives you, like you said, gives you what you want, shows you what you want to hear, but gives you what you need to hear.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's all about responsibility, leadership, a lot of stuff that, I don't know, man, I think you should lean a little bit more toward the military thing, like just kind of showcase that.
I do in the course.
In the course,
and in fact, I film new ads every week, and my ads this week are strictly to the military.
Yeah.
Next week, they're to people in tech.
Because I think people would like give you a little bit more respect on,
Sure.
Because I didn't even know it, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm somebody else. I'm just an example of someone random. And I see it and I was like, oh, he's a nightlife guy, whatever. Like he's just around and he's like, oh, I want beautiful
It gets
women.
even weirder when people realize I studied astrophysics in college.
Yeah,
like,
like we don't know that. So we're going to see that part of Michael Sartain, his program, how he made millions of dollars and doing all this stuff while networking with some of the top people. One of your big things is networking, right? Like I'm doing that as well. That's something that like, I just am like, dude, I don't know what else. Like this is my superpower. I'm going to lean to it, right? Like I'm holding on to this, like clinging to it because this is one thing I'm good at. And I want to know what it is you discovered about yourself through military, through all that. But starting off, man, is first off your story, right? Like, so, you decide to join the military, what prompted that? And then from that story, from that on to building a personal brand, just like, how'd you become Man of Action? So
I'll go back. I'm a Longhorn. I went to UT Austin. I graduated, and 9/11 happened. I was actually a DJ at Amazon Gentlemen's Club on Congress Avenue in Austin, Texas. It's called the Red Rose now. And I go to work and I see the first tower get hit. I see the second tower get hit. And I just remember feeling confused, uneasy. It wasn't anger yet. It wasn't anger until I kind of understood what was going on. Then later I talked to two of my fraternity brothers, Marcus Cole, he joined the Navy, and my other fraternity brother, his name was Antonio Edwards. He was a major in the Marine Corps. He flew an EA-6B Prowler. He and I were navigators. Marcus was a pilot. And we joined the military. I joined the military after they did. I wanted to join the Marine Corps, and then they didn't have any spots for officers. So then I went to the Air Force, and I said, I'd like to do intel. I read a lot of Tom Clancy novels, and I was like, I think that'd be cool. I'd like to do intel. And they were like, okay, for sure. And then I take the AFOQT, and I score so high on the nav pilot portion, they're asking me, do you want to be a pilot? And I'm like, no, it's 11 and a half years to be a pilot. I was like, and then they're like, well, for a navigator, it's about 7 years, 7.5 years. I was like, okay, I'll do that. So most line officers, it's 4 years. And it was one of these things where when I joined, there was no confusion at all. I just knew this is what I was supposed to be doing. No one in my family had ever joined the military, ever discussed joining the military. It was not an ROTC. I didn't even know what it is when I was in college. I had no idea. It was just one of these things where I knew I had the acumen, and I joined the Air Force. And when I joined, that's when I started to see the difference from coming from nightlife to the military. I'm probably the only person in history who's ever done this. I swore into MEPS at Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, Texas. That night, I worked at Sugar's Uptown Cabaret as a DJ. So I was in the military and DJing at a nightclub at the same time. And then 2 days later, drive to Montgomery, Alabama to Maxwell Air Force Base and get my head shaved. And then that's where I became, and then a few months after that, I became a second lieutenant. But the thing that happened was you'll see this massive transition. So I saw working at a gentleman's club and a nightclub before that. And then I'm in the military. And then after I get out of the military, I'm back in nightlife in Las Vegas. And the incredible black and white difference between people who are accountable and people who are not accountable. People who can follow directions, people who cannot follow directions. People who have who personally self-start and are motivated, who are industrious, and people who are not. People who are good leaders and people who are shitty leaders. People who want all the authority and no responsibility versus people who want all the responsibility and delegate authority, which is what a great leader does. It's funny because when I read Jocko Willick's books, I'm like, yes, that is what I saw when I got into the military and when I left. The way Jocko describes it is exactly, that is the real world. Like the people at the highest level, this is how leadership actually works. I tell my sales team every week, I'm like, what did I do to screw up your life today? Did I do anything wrong? I make it very open and honest with them that I am open to criticism, even though I'm their boss. And that was something that I learned from being in the military for a while. While I was in the military when I was 29, so I joined when I was 26. When I was 29, my dad was hit by a drunk driver. And then I got deployed to the Middle East 6 weeks after that. And then I watched on Facebook, I watched my girlfriend with someone else. Ooh. Now, to be fair, she, not technically my girlfriend, we had been dating for about a month and a half. But when I was there, I became more attached to her because I'm now 12,000 miles away, right? And so I'm more attached to her. And I'm like, oh man, baby, please wait. It's only gonna be here a couple months.
You need somebody at that time because you just went through your family.
So definitely bigger for me than it was for her. But from her standpoint, it's like, I've been dating this guy for 6 weeks or 2 months. And then he got deployed to the Middle East after his dad died. It was too much for her. And so she runs off. We're friends now, so I'm totally fine with it. But like at the time I was like, I didn't understand. But from my standpoint being, 29, I don't know what to do. I start breaking out. I start having autoimmune disorder. And rashes on my head, all this kind of shit. Like my fingers start swelling up. And I remember I come back from my first deployment and a buddy of mine says, hey, I understand what you're going through. You should read this book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And just life-changing book. Even to this day, I love this book because it helps you understand this concept of gratitude. For those of you who don't understand gratitude, that gratitude is a word for most people, but in reality, if you make $32,000 a year, US, you are in the top 1% of wage earners in the world. Half the Earth's population lives on $5 a day. The top 10% of wealthiest people on Earth have as much money as the bottom 60% of people on Earth. Before 1947, numerous types of bacteria had like a 99% mortality rate. Can you imagine? Syphilis had a 99% mortality rate. Right? How great, malaria, like all these things there were no treatments for. When you consider the wealthiest man in the world, like Henry VIII, died of gout, which is easily curable today. How do you not have gratitude? You get to drink clean water. Now, clean, it's full of estrogen now, but it's clean in comparison to what people had to deal with, a couple hundred years ago. And when you realize that, man, how do you, and then here's the other thing. You can live a pretty decent life driving Uber. You can drive Uber. It's not that rough of a life. You get to listen to audiobooks, listen to your favorite music, drive around a little bit. You might complain about this or that, but like you're still living better than 99% of people who live in Brazil or Africa. Yeah. You understand? Like that's the gratitude. And then the second part is I have no real problems. That's why it's called the power of now, because the only real time I have is now. The only thing that matters is this moment. When you come to that realization, you don't have any problems in this moment. Most of your problems are interpretations of your past or anticipations of your future. And if you can come away from that, it's really, if you want to know, what Eckhart Tolle did was basically give a 2000 modern explanation of, or 2010 explanation of Buddhism. Like he kind of rephrased it. And I loved it. And it really changed my life. And it helped me come to the realization that I still have now is that no one gives a fuck about me or you. Like you have a few people in your life that give a fuck about you, but in reality, no one cares. You know what me and Elon Musk have in common? We're going to be just as dead in 300 years. Yeah. We will be exactly as dead as each other in 300 years. How does that not liberate you? You live in a country where a man a porn star while his wife was pregnant and became president of the United States. You live in a man where a dude in a movie punches his wife, kidnaps his own kids while doing hundreds of lines of blow and sleeping with hundreds of prostitutes. He does 15 years in prison for securities fraud. You think his life would be over. They made a movie about it, but no. You live in a country where a guy transitions to become a woman, runs over 2 people, kills one of them, and 4 months later is named Woman of the Year. But you don't mind Caitlyn Jenner. You love her. It doesn't matter. You guys think you pay for anything? Before OJ died, he got offered millions of dollars to host a fantasy football podcast. Remember that part where he stabbed Ronald Goldman and his wife 56 times? Like no one pays for shit. Like I'm not trying to tell you that the world is good because it's not. I'm trying to tell you is that you have so much freedom and latitude to f up and people do not care. Do you understand the L that Logan Paul took when they started posting pictures of his fiance with hundreds of different men? And it made him more popular. Neon gets cheated on by his girlfriend. He's more popular. Aiden Ross gets cheated on by his girlfriend. He's more popular. Do you understand? Like you can f up so bad and nobody cares. And then these people, like, and it goes back to the power of now, like this complete and total understanding. It was Neil Strauss who told me this one time. He goes, the key to life is recognizing it's not all about you. And once you have that, it's so liberating, coming to the realization that not only do I need to not worry about what other people think about, the only thing that matters is this moment. It's so liberating. Other people who have humongous egos are like, wait, no one cares about me? Wah, I'm so sad. I'm like, dude, I'm so happy that no one gives a shit about what I do. Really, nobody gives a shit about what I do. And it's so terrific. And sometimes I catch myself like worried. It's like, oh, did I wear the right shirt on this? Or do people like my girlfriend or whatever? And now like, I just don't care at all. And it was actually Grant Cardone, who's he was telling the story to Brad Lee, who I consider Brad like a big brother. And
Brad's actually the reason we started this podcast. Oh, yeah? I had Carlos Reyes on. We had FaceTimed him live on this podcast. So everybody watching who's seen that episode, you'll see it. And I talked to Brad, and Brad was just like, okay. Like he didn't say anything. He was just kind of like, I was like, hey, man, you're the reason. I've been just trying to it's so hard to get him 10 minutes away from his office for an hour.
Vegas?
In Vegas, just trying to get him out of his office for an hour. It's so difficult right now. We're coordinating with Maria, but it's difficult.
Brad was telling me, he was talking about
Grant Cardone.
Grant Cardone, and he was like, Grant made the most money when he got the most hate. And Grant will piss you off. Grant knows he will piss you off, right? Here's a dividing line, because you were asking about business. If you go full negative in the beginning, you remember Jack Neal was giving us a speech at Ty Lopez's house a couple days ago?
Yeah.
He was talking about he would lead with negative. Well, that's because Jack is a social media influencer and he's really good at it and he's a podcaster, but he's not selling a course. If you're selling a course or a product, when you lead with negative, you know what you're going to get? Refunds. You're going to get victim mentality and refunds, which is why, does Tony Robbins lead with negative? No, because Tony Robbins teaches a course and he doesn't need a fucking 20% refund rate. So that's the issue. It's like so there's this fine line with me where like I want to go full on, I'm good friends with Myron Gaines. Myron goes way more nuclear. He goes way more scorched earth with girls than I do. But like for me, there's certain people, not Myron himself. Myron, by the way, Myron does not hate women. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Myron loves women.
Right.
The problem is some of Myron's fans that don't like women or get attracted to Myron, and that's, for me, in my business model, that's a really bad lead.
Thing.
That's a bad lead.
Like who follows you is also kind of an important thing. Like I like making positive content because it's going to repel negative people.
For sure, but it won't grow as fast. It just won't grow as fast. And that's just the truth. And then there's other, I don't know how far you want to go down this controversy, but I've said this a million times and I absolutely believe it's true. And you're going to notice after November, things changing significantly. The real reason Manosphere and Red Pill content gets ratioed on social media platforms, except for Twitter, is because it is causing Black, Hispanic, Indian, and Asian men for the first time to consider voting Republican. That's why. The Manosphere is, and by the way, I'm not telling you to vote Republican. What I'm telling you is the Manosphere has a political movement inside of it, and it is totally politically conservative. And for the first time, you're seeing African-American men who are listening to people like, say, Myron or Donovan Sharp or whoever, and they're saying, oh, damn, maybe Trump is a bad mother. Maybe I do want to have a wife who doesn't cheat on me. And maybe I don't want a life with a woman like Cardi B or Megan Thee Stallion. Maybe I want a traditional relationship where I can have kids and my kids go to a school and they're not taught alternative lifestyle stuff where weirdos are like naked in front of them, teaching them how to suck on a banana. Maybe that's what I want. And it doesn't matter if I'm black or if I'm white. It used to be the Democrat Party was for the disenfranchised back during civil rights. Well, now the disenfranchised, you know who they are? Poor men, short men, and ugly men. Those are the disenfranchised. And it doesn't fucking matter what color you are. And so I think for the first time in history, the Manosphere is, by the way, which is if you want to consider it a political movement, it's a political movement that literally requires no money, guidance, or leadership whatsoever. It just exists. And it's causing men who legitimately previously would have voted for Obama, legitimately those same men may now vote for Trump. And that is the reason this content is being canceled.
Yeah.
That's the actual reason. It's not, they're going to tell you they're doing it to protect women.
Right.
It's horseshit. They're doing it because they do not want Hispanic and black men to vote Republican.
Wow. And have you said this before on any? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised. Like, honestly, I'm surprised I still have a podcast after saying it.
What is the reaction to it? Like, do they try to lower your views or what do you think?
No, they lower my views all the time. So I had a one video I made a while ago where I know Andrew Tate, just full disclosure. And I said, listen, after the original arrest came out, I was like, I don't know what you're charging him with, but what I do know is this. In August of 2022, I believe, when he was the most popular man in the world, most Googled man in the entire world. You're telling me that he was extorting women to come make TikTok videos to promote their OnlyFans while he was doing $20 million a month in revenue on the Real World?
Yeah.
So I just make that make sense to me. He's doing $20 million a month.
That the date of it was, they're forwarding the date now, trying to make dates like in the future.
Yes.
And while he was already doing other stuff.
I'm saying he's just make this make sense.
Right.
You're telling me
he wants to do something that pays less.
You're telling me that Warren Buffett robbed a 7-Eleven. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett who's worth $280 billion, robbed the 7-Eleven. You want me to believe that?
Yeah.
So you're telling me that Andrew Tate was extorting women for a couple $100 a month while he's making $20 million. And I just asked the question. I was like, it didn't make sense to me. And I make the video. And of course, it goes mega viral. And every video subsequent from that got less than 100 likes for weeks. We had to take the video down. It was crushing my engagement. It was so obvious what had happened. Because what happened was they couldn't take the video down.
If I cut this and put that into the clip right now, would the same thing happen?
Probably not. I think they don't see Andrew, especially on Instagram, they don't see him as a threat. On TikTok, yes. Any mention or image of Andrew Tate is going to get ratioed on TikTok.
Because TikTok, he took over TikTok.
Well, no, it's not that he took over TikTok. He embarrassed TikTok.
Yeah.
He used TikTok's algorithm against them to promote things that TikTok hates. TikTok is the most politically woke of all of our social media platforms.
Yeah.
If you guys want to do really well on social media right now, go on TikTok and just pander to women.
Dude, so I actually did a video. My buddy Martin Grant did a video, and he was talking about, and it was actually a positive thing, and it did well because of it. But he was saying like Mexicans are like our best friends. Like they do really well, and Mexico and U.S. like trade relations should be partnership, whatever. Like he said something like that, and there's a white guy saying that, and they boosted that like we did good views. And I mean, I agree with the take, but my point is, it did well. And then I saw the same thing on Instagram. When you talk about money, Instagram loves to boost you.
Yeah, it depends on what it is. If you talk about self-help on TikTok, they're not going to boost you.
Yeah.
There's no reason why. If you look at Alex Hormozy's, if you look at his engagement on Instagram versus TikTok, you're going to be like, how the fuck is this real? Like, well, same thing with Brad Lee.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense. Well, the reason why is, I mean, if I'm China, here's an idea. Sorry, you got caffeine in me, so I'm going to be a little conspiratorial today.
Yeah.
If I'm China and I cannot defeat the United States militarily, here's an idea. What if I just promote to their young people ideologies that do not promote fertility? You want LBGT, call it whatever you want, but ideas that do not promote fertility. And in fact, if you show me healthy women with curves who have muscles and nice bodies, I'm going to take those images down as well, because that also promotes fitness and fertility. So we're going to take those down as well. But in China, I'm going to show all the young people images where they have to solve math problems and they become educated. In the United States, here's another idea. Why don't I take down every healthy looking adult female in a bikini off TikTok, but anytime there's a 13-year-old girl dancing in Daisy Dukes, I'm going to promote that. So I'm going to promote I'm going to promote being with underage minors. I'm going to promote a lack of fertility, and anyone who's trying to help men level up, I'm going to go ahead and ratio them. I'm just saying, what an idea. How about demasculinizing the male population of a country that you cannot defeat militarily?
Right.
Just saying, maybe something you might want to think about. So I do see that.
These wars are basically what you're saying essentially is these wars are a lot bigger than what people see, right? Like this is a whole, I mean, because here's the thing, like you and me and a couple, a lot of the people that we may be peers with, it's obvious. But for a lot of people, it's not obvious. Right.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And by the way, I'll tell you this: like, if you want to see an example of what I'm talking about, look at some certain Chris Hitchens is one of them. There's another one, Chris, the guy who wears the beanie cap, who looks off to the side real quick and says the super women pandering shit. What's his name? I forgot.
Oh, dude, he gets tons of views. Yeah. He gets like 9 million views on a reel.
But watch him and then look him on YouTube, and he doesn't do as well. You want to know why? Because YouTube doesn't boost you for pandering to women, but Instagram and TikTok does.
Dude, he does his numbers are insane.
Yeah, and the crazy part is like, I don't know, like at some point, if he ever follows his own advice, he's going to realize that women are just going to cheat on him because he comes off like the biggest beta male I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, Chris, do you remember what the guy's name is? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Anyway, that's the issue is like, at some point reality sets in and these guys, they can't deal with it. But the problem is whenever it comes to like pandering to liberals or pandering to women on social media, the problem is you're stuck and you can never stop pandering to them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Will Hitchens can never make non-women pandering videos. He can never make a video where women take responsibility for their actions and men are actually just setting boundaries.
Do you ever get the comment? Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. Do you ever get the comment? Oh, you're another red pill guy, one of those podcast guys.
Yeah, I don't really care about that. I don't get the red pill thing anymore. Like red pill is I'm trying to. No, it's not that. It's not that. Red pill is a placeholder. If the only thing that I consider to be red pill is whatever Rollo Tomasi says is red pill, because Rollo is one of my best friends. If Rollo says it's red pill, then it's red pill. But I believe in gravity, but I'm not a gravityist. And I believe in evolution, but I'm not an evolutionist. I believe in red pill. That doesn't make me red pill. Yeah. Red pill is just a lens with which to see things through. And if you want to ask me what red pill is, it's whatever Rollo says it is. But here's the thing. The reality of the situation is whenever Pearl Davis or Andrew Tate says something, and neither of them I would consider red pill because the red pill community does not accept Pearl. I like Pearl, but the red pill community does not accept Pearl.
Yeah.
And Andrew Tate specifically says he's not red pill. What happens is whenever they say things, then all of those things are now blamed on Rollo. And Rollo didn't say them.
Yeah.
Rollo never said repeal the 19th Amendment, but he gets blamed for it. Rollo never said 20% of the men are 80% of the women, but he gets blamed for this nonsense. Rollo never said that 30% of women are having sex with other men and cuckolding their husbands. Other people said this, but Rollo gets blamed for it. Mm-hmm. Red pill has now become, if you're a political progressive or you're a blue pill content creator, red pill has now become whatever you don't like. Whatever you don't like creates school shootings. If you don't like something, then it's bad because it causes school shooting. I'm using hyperbole here. But like that's essentially what red pill is. So what they do is they take everything they disagree with and say that's red pill and that's bad. And then of course it's absurd. And Republicans and Democrats have been doing this for years. All Democrats are socialists, all Republicans are racist. That's the way they've been using the same thing. So now red pill has become this tool with which to attack people who have ideologies that you don't agree with, regardless of how much they make sense. I'm gonna tell you right now, there's a reason some content creators like Myron or Rollo have never been on Joe Rogan, have never been on Chris Williamson, have never been on some of these other podcasts. And the reason why is not because they're going to say hateful things. It's because they're going to start to make sense to a lot of the audience. And that's where the problems are going to occur. And by the way, those two guys are more politically conservative and further red pill than I am. I actually don't agree with some of the things that they believe. I do not give a shit if my girlfriend's in a bikini because that promotes health.
Yeah.
I like bikinis and bikini competitions because this country is fucking obese. I like bikinis. They're okay. I don't have a problem with my girlfriend in a bikini. That's one thing. And also, I would vote for a female candidate if a female candidate believed in what I believe. And I'll tell you that because the mayor of Las Vegas is female, and she did everything she could to get us back to work when the country was being shut down by the federal government. So yes, I would vote for her. Yeah. And that's where I differ from those guys. But for the most part, we do agree with each other.
So that a lot of that's like really interesting. One thing I want to ask you specifically is how do people react to you knowing that you're a guy in modern day society promoting like that, hey, men actually have value, instead of typically what they want to promote is, the opposite, right? It's just like, oh, men are disposable. We don't need men. I'd rather be in with a bear in the woods than a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do people react to that?
Most people actually, I rarely have people come up to me and say that they disagree with anything that I say. And I open that. Like I usually have these Monday live streams in it. I would go on Twitter because that's where all the biggest trolls, there's a level of trolling. TikTok is just above Twitter. Twitter is the lowest level of trolling. Like they are the most heinous because they'll just delete their account and then they'll make new ones. Yeah. And then below that is TikTok, and then below that is probably YouTube. On Instagram, you see less trolling because people generally use Instagram to show status. So they'll put a photo up. So they're less anonymous on Instagram. And on Facebook, no one reads the comments, so no one cares anyway. So so that's kind of the level. But I'll go on Twitter and I'll literally ask guys, like, I need some haters to come on, debate me, whatever. And rarely do I get like coherent thoughts trying to go against what I'm saying, because rarely do I express opinions. Now, here's the part. Now, when I express an opinion, I say it's an opinion. So an opinion might be, I think that these are certain, I like using candid photos, occasionally photos in lifestyle places, and then photos with women on Instagram in order to generate more status on Instagram. That's my opinion. I can back that up with some anecdotal evidence for me and my audience. And there's a little bit of scientific evidence. TCU did a study showing that men who take pictures with attractive women, showing that they're happy to be there, look more attractive. But part of that was my opinion, and part of that was a study. When I talk about make choice copying, or if I talk about the fact that women who have more sexual partners before they're married and men who have more sexual partners before they're married are more likely to cheat, that's not my opinion.
That's just a statistic.
That is a statistic. And that makes people furious at me because it's rarely my opinion they have an issue with.
Yeah.
It is when I start using data from the Evolution of Desire, the evolutionary psychology textbook, when men behave badly, why beautiful people have more daughters, the ape that understood the universe, all these evolutionary psychology textbooks, that's when I start getting the real hate, the real problems. When you start explaining how hypergamy works, and then the women are like, oh, hypergamy isn't real. I have to settle for, these men are not good enough. And then I'm like, well, I can show you a study that when men don't make very much money, the likelihood of them going a year without sex escalates.
Yeah.
What is that called? It's hypergamy. That's the only answer it could be. And when I do that, that's when the hate comes in.
Yeah.
That's when the real hate comes in, because I'm attacking their religion. That's the problem. If you were to go to someone who believed in a certain religion and you were able to prove to them that their religion was fake, they're not going to say, hey man, thank you so much for clearing this up. Let me give you a handshake. No, they're going to pull out their sword like the Inquisition and they're going to cut your head off. That's what's going to happen. People do not like finding out that their religion isn't real. And for some people, the religion they believe is looks, money, status, or the religion that they believe is that the entire world is shaped the way it is because of a patriarchy, which is utter and complete madness. Do you want to know something? Men are more interested in casual sex than women. I don't have to explain this to you. You're a man. You obviously know this to be true. When I explain this in a gender studies course or to feminists, their response to me is, well, of course, men are more interested in casual sex with women because women are shamed into believing that casual sex is bad. And my response is, really? Then why are chimpanzee men more interested in casual sex than the females? Did the chimpanzees get infected by patriarchy as well? No. The reality of the situation is testosterone. But your explanation is based in science, and now you are going to get hate for it because what you said is accurate and it's not your opinion. That's where the real problems happen. You guys want to know how I knew I was onto something is when I would say very, very moderate things that I got from gleaning out data in every society. David Buss does a study of 10,000 people, 37 countries. And in every society, as men garnered more socioeconomic status and wealth, the age between them and their wives, what do you think? It increased or decreased?
Increased.
How the did you know that, bro? How did you know? Of course you knew it was going to increase. In every society, it does that. Now, here's the other thing. As women increase in their desire, and by the way, as men make more money, do they care how much money their wives make? What do you think?
No.
They don't. It's so funny. And how'd you get this right? Are you an evolutionary psychologist? No, you just have a brain. You know what the truth is here. Now, if I have women and they start to make more money, do they want their husbands to make less money?
No.
No matter how much money a woman makes, they want a husband who makes more than them.
Yeah.
So wait a second. I thought it was patriarchy though. I thought no, it's not patriarchy. That's not the issue. It is a function of survival. It is 200,000 years of Homo sapien evolution, 3 million years of hominid evolution, and about 258 million years of mammalian evolution. That's where this comes from. And people don't like to hear it. When you explain these things as a fact, because you talked about data, They're livid. They're so angry with you.
It's so crazy. You talk about, you made it sound scientific. Everything scientific. So it's like, are you getting hated on, or is it actually the science that people like, just people denying science today?
Yes. Yeah. So I do this often. I'll show the data that shows that men who have more sexual partners before they're married are more likely to cheat. But men, does this offend you? If I were to tell you have more sexual partners, you're more likely to cheat in a marriage. Does that offend you?
No.
You have no emotional reaction. I could be talking to Dan Bilzerian right now and say, Dan, do you know if you have more sexual partners before you get married, you're more likely to cheat? He'd be like, offended? You think he'd give a Of course he wouldn't give a What do you think happens when I tell women the more sexual partners you have, the more likely you are to cheat? What do you think happens?
A lot of times probably they get upset.
They leave these long comments talking about who hurt you and why are you doing this and why are you so insecure? And the GSS comes out with this study which basically shows that women who cheated have 230% more sexual partners before they're married than women who don't cheat. I mean, this is a massive correlation. Yeah. It's like undeniable.
And it's not even a bad, like, why is it a bad thing that we're preaching that people should be a little bit more selective and choosing to be in a relationship?
What you said, Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion don't agree with you. Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar don't agree with you. Be just selective,
right? No. I don't think it means...
AOC does not agree with you. You can say stuff like that. No, women should be able to just sleep with whoever they want. Yeah. And I agree they should be able to sleep with whoever they want. And I should also have the choice to not date them.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and tell you I'm telling women to never sleep with anyone. What I'm telling you is I have the right to also be selective and not date them. And it doesn't make me wrong. It doesn't make me weird to not want to be with a woman who's been with a lot of men. It doesn't make me insecure. It doesn't make me bigoted. It doesn't make me weird if I want my wife to only be with me. It doesn't, because I'm not open to cuckoldry, that doesn't make me strange. And if I prefer to not be with a woman who already has kids prior to me being with her, that is something I can do and not be bigoted. Although, what am I being told? When men are being told by women to date single mothers, what are they told? They're told to step up.
Yeah.
They're told to step up. And like, why would you have to step up? Again, I'm not saying you can't have a rewarding relationship with a single mother. I'm sure you can. But the problem is if I choose to not do that, that does not make me bigoted.
Right.
That's the problem. But that's essentially the issue. If I don't want to be with a girl who used to do porn, that doesn't make me bigoted. But I'm being told I am.
Right. And that's like weird because in 70 years ago, right, like this would have been normal.
Correct. But progressives are going to say that's what progress does, is it creates a more egalitarian society. And by the way, we're going to have an egalitarian society. OnlyFans is not going away. Pornography is not going away. So just get over it. Don't let it bother you. But what I'm telling you instead is you can also choose, and by the way, learn the techniques and the mechanisms to be able to choose a better wife by going through some of the data that I just told you. But the data in and of itself is deemed sexist because the data states that a woman, you cannot turn a hoe into a housewife. That's what, by showing data, the GSS doing a survey of 8,000 women, by showing data that clearly shows that women who have more sexual partners are more likely to cheat. I am basically taking stuff that Project Pat said in a rap song and saying you can't turn a hoe into a housewife, and Willie D saying you can't let a hoe be a hoe, and you know Juicy J saying all these hoes they for everybody. It turns out it's all true, and now but because I'm saying this thing that is true, it's deemed sexist, even though it's true. Something that is true cannot be sexist. Let me say that again. Something that is true cannot be sexist.
Right.
Something that is true cannot be racist. In general, the majority of the NFL are African Americans. That is not racist for me to say that. It is not. If you look at the people who win the 100 meters in the United States every year, they're most of the time they're African Americans. If something is true, it is not racist.
Yep.
If something is true, it is not bigoted. That is hard for people to deal with. Okay, and that's where the issue comes from. And so, sort of an assault on the truth is what's happened. And more recently, because of the political campaigns, but Republican and Democrat.
Have you seen that? Have you read that book? I think, what's his name? Gad Saad?
Yeah, of course.
Started a book.
Yeah. So Gad Saad's he is the chair of evolutionary studies at Concordia.
And it's crazy. So if you want to explain to, and the camera right there too, if you want to explain to people, like, so he wrote a book. He said, my opinion is it's not even an opinion.
Yeah.
He said, I'm just here living life. He said, but now there's an assault on facts and the truth.
Correct. Yes.
And the only reason I'm writing this book is to fight against the fact that the truth, he said, we're getting to a point in society where this is dangerous.
Yeah. So people are, so he called it a woke mind virus. And people, and Elon Musk agrees with it. Elon Musk touts.
Retweeted it or whatever. Yeah.
Elon Musk touts Gad Saad's books. His books are a must read. They're required reading for my clients. But it is exactly what he's saying. It's like these concepts are, again, I have no, if somebody wants to transition from man to woman, that's fine. Just don't tell me once you transition from a man to a woman that then you can have a baby. And then when I explain to you that you can't have a baby, that then makes me bigoted. It does not make me bigoted.
Yeah.
The truth is never bigoted. The truth is never racist, and the truth is never sexist. You need to understand that. If you don't understand that the truth, the facts don't care about your feelings, like Ben Shapiro says, if you don't understand that concept, you are one or two derivatives away from everybody believing the earth is flat. Like that's what happens.
Yeah.
Natural selection. It's so funny when I debate people in evolutionary psychology, I realize I'm not debating evolutionary psychology. I'm debating evolution. These people don't even believe in Darwin. Like that's how crazy that the things have gotten. And so when you realize these kind of things, when you realize these instances,
you believe in Darwin though?
Of course, absolutely. I
what
will
makes
absolutely sit here and talk. And you could put 50 people in this room, and I will absolutely.
So you think that man evolved from
I don't think.
apes?
I absolutely know and seen unassailable, undeniable proof. And if you spent an hour even looking at it, there was no way you could deny it. Absolutely.
But do you still believe in God?
Yes.
So then you believe.
Why are you limiting God by saying natural selection couldn't be real?
It goes against standardized religion today, right? Like,
I don't believe in a literal interpretation of the Old Testament, and I bet if we go through the Quran, you don't believe in a literal interpretation of it either. Like I do not believe God created the earth in 7 days. If we want to call days something else, like an eon, a day is 1,000 years or 100 million years, maybe we could make some sort of metaphor to express that. But the problem is the guy who's writing the book of Genesis does not have a concept of the word billion, does not know what the word billion means, does not have a concept of gravity or space or a sphere or the earth going around the sun. He doesn't have any concept of those things. He does not have the mechanisms or the tools with which to correctly describe the creation of the earth. He's doing the best he can. Yeah. Doesn't mean he's wrong-headed, and it doesn't mean he's lying. It's just that's the best they could come up with at the time. We do know that there was probably some massive flood because it talks about it in the Quran, it talks about it in the Bible. What happened with Noah, probably something similar to that did happen. But do I literally believe that Lot's wife looked back and then turned into a pillar of salt? I do not. I do not believe that literally happened. So I believe a lot of these things are metaphor. I do believe on faith, not on evidence, that Jesus Christ existed, he died and was resurrected. But you want to know why I believe that? Because several people saw him die at Calvary and several people saw him rose again later on, including doubting Thomas. Yeah. That's why I choose to believe that based on faith. But if you want to, like, it's always confusing to me. It's like this idea that natural selection isn't real because of God. I'm like, why are you limiting God? I don't understand. If you believe God has anything to do with cause and effect, isn't that all natural selection is? That's all it is. But it's very difficult for people.
I always use the term God created science. Who created science?
So you should look up the God of Spinoza. That basically God created science. Or another way to say it is God created the 4 fundamental forces in the universe: the strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, electromagnetism, and gravity. And through those things, set in motion things that would eventually lead towards atoms being formed, then molecules, then dust clouds forming into stars, and those supernovae exploding, turning into planets and stars, and those planets eventually getting in Goldilocks zones, and eventually at some point life gets created.
So I want to transition a little bit into how you got from the military, like finishing that story from that to Man of Action. Why Man of Action? How'd you get there? Man of Action, and what was the inspiration for you to build a brand?
So I coached in 2008 to 2019 and never charged a person a penny. I would get flown out to different places to give speeches. And, I loved doing it, but I was working in finance and I didn't want to do coaching for a living. And when COVID happened, I saw the variance in being a trader. Like, so many unforeseen things can happen. I was like, I don't want to get all my income from being a trader anymore. This is a bad way to live. It's too stressful. And this thing that I had been doing for 11 years for free, I was like, it's time for me to turn this into a business. And when I did it, we did $100,000 our first month because there had been people for a decade asking me to start a program. So when I first did it, it blew up immediately, did really well immediately. But here's the other thing that I learned, which was when people actually put their own time and resources into it, they were more invested and their results were better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's what made, like,
when you pay. So as in when you pay attention.
When you pay attention. I was with one of my clients the other night, and the guy, I'm not kidding you, he's 5 feet tall, maybe 4'11", and he was with the hottest girl I've ever seen. And this guy is not rich.
Yeah.
And he just listened to what I said about pre-selection, about networking, about social hierarchies, about social proof. He just kept doing that over and over again. And then he just met a girl who just didn't care about his height and was hot as shit. And she's all over him because He just listened and understood from an evolutionary standpoint what I was trying to explain, and it worked. When you see that, it's so rewarding that you're like, I got to keep doing this.
What is it that you say though? What do you say in your programs? Because you said this at the Thai event. You said I give people what they or tell them what they want.
Okay, so I get what you're talking about. So my advertisement is there's a lot of women in it. I sell you what you want and I teach you what you need. So a lot of people come into the program because they're having difficulties with women because wanting more attractive or a variety of women or wanting a wife or a girlfriend for you is an evolutionary adaptation that men have in order to reproduce and spread their genetics. So I knew that is a great way to get people to come into your program. The problem is when they come into the program, they get hit over the head. And one of the first things I explained to them, I probably shouldn't even be saying this on the air, but one of the first things you're going to figure out is you're a shitty leader, you're a shitty communicator, and you're a shitty networker. And that's why women don't like you. You're also out of shape and you smell bad. And there's a million other things that we could do to fix to make you a holistic, well-rounded man so that women find you attractive. You're going to chase money first before women and you'll get the women. You chase women first, you're not going to get the money. It's not how it works. And so you come into the program and you start to understand the leadership component of it. I need you to understand concepts in evolutionary psychology, critical thinking. I need you to understand concepts in having a winning mindset. I need you to understand concepts in event planning. I need you to understand concepts when it deals with social media. I need you to understand concepts when it deals with being industrious, being your own entrepreneur. I need you to understand those concepts first. And what happens is at the end, you're so well-rounded and you have so much abundance in your life and you've become part of this community that is so robust and so willing to help you that at the end, you just didn't even notice it and women just found you more attractive.
Yeah.
Because you're in better shape and you're a better speaker. You watch yourself on camera. One of my modules is called Watching Yourself on Camera. When you go out to a club, you've got 10 girls with you. But when you go out, every other girl is looking at you like, who the is this guy? And why are all these girls with him? And then they start competing for your attention. You start doing less work and getting more attractive women to come into your life. That's, again, another thing. What I just explained is called mate choice copying from evolutionary psychology and evolutionary biology. And dudes are going to listen to this right now and be like, you can't be friends with women. No, yes, you can. You absolutely can. It looks like to other women that you have something going for you. And then all of a sudden these questions that women have, because women, when they see men, they have imperfect information. They look at a woman and they look at the guy who's with a beautiful woman. They're like, well, he's probably not creepy. He's probably decent in bed. He probably doesn't smell bad. Like all these questions are answered. When we look at women, we have perfect information. We're like, that is a fat ass, want to have like we know immediately, no questions. Women look at us and they have tons of imperfect information. They have incomplete information. And so pre-selection or mate choice copying is how they get that information. And when you guys take 5 seconds and look up mate choice copying, look at Wikipedia, look up wherever you want to find it, right? American Psychological Association, whatever you want to look up mate choice copying. When you guys look it up and you see, oh, damn, guys who have women get more women. So Michael isn't just saying this. This isn't trust me, bro. This isn't bro science. This is actual evolutionary psychology. When you see that, then it's like, wait a second. He's teaching men to have more female friends, to create more pre-selection, which then causes women to be more attracted to those men. But he's doing so because it's based in science. Holy shit. And then go look at the comments. Fuck you. Why are you teaching this? You're so insecure. Who hurt you? Guys like this look like players. I'm like, yeah, of course they look like players. Players get women. This looks so insecure, like this kind of stuff. And I'm like, bro, and it's men too. This is the craziest part. I'm like, dude, these women are never going to sleep with you. I don't care how, I'm sorry. I'm going to say something that's going to disappoint a lot of guys. There's going to be people in the comments who are going to write these like simpy ass beta things about how what I'm saying is wrong and I don't know what I'm talking about. Fellas, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this. There's women who are liking your comments will never sleep with you. Never. Doesn't matter how much of a simp you become, they will never sleep with you.
Yeah.
And that's why they're doing it. That's why they're doing it. The course is basically 25 years of knowledge that I've compiled together. It's 114 modules in the original course. And we use what I've learned in combination with scientific studies to create a course to help you level up in networking, communication, leadership, and dating. We also do a little bit when it comes to fitness. It's not our primary goal. And we also do a little bit when it comes to finance. We do specialize in brand building, podcasting, things like that. Those are other things we teach, because here's another secret. If you create an awesome brand where you're selling something to other men, women will see that on your Instagram and they'll be like, that guy's competent. It looks like I just got through, I'm in chapter 3 of Dr. David Buss's textbook right now. And he goes over, it's not just that women admire men for having money. They admire men for having the mechanisms to make money. Their code word for that is ambitious. That's ambitious, right? And when a guy goes broke and she divorces him, the code word for that is he lost his ambition. We grew apart. No, he got broken. You left him. That's what happened. But you know, in these situations, when you start taking these concepts and then you mix in understandings from evolution, then you start getting a course that works for everyone.
So that's what my question was. So I remember what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So it looks like you, again, what you just said, you built a course, you built a foundation, and it wasn't even like anything opinionated or your whatever. You just took factual stuff.
So let's step back a little bit. So I have some friends of mine that are actually scientists, and then we're going to watch this. I admit that a lot of what I teach is anecdotal, but you have to use some anecdotal evidence.
Right.
Anecdotes, though, are not my opinion. It's not my opinion.
Right. When you say that, does that not what people traditionally would think is you're saying that out loud? Isn't that like going to hurt your potential dating chances? Bro, I've said this before. By the way, I'm not recommending you do this. If you had a podcast where all you did was trash women and that podcast got 5 million subs on YouTube, you'd have women lined up down the block to come on your podcast. Women do not care. You've been listening to Luke and Luther Campbell, what's his name, from a 2 Live Crew. You've been listening to fucking Drake. You've been listening to Future. You've been listening to Juicy J. You've been listening to 3 6 Mafia. You've been listening to Willie D. Basically degrade women for 30 years, and then women throw themselves at these guys. You explain that to me. Right.
Like, listen to Drake's lyrics, and then you tell me that, oh my God, Drake is saying that he all these girls. Does Chris Brown not brag about banging hundreds of chicks? He does. So Chris Brown brags about banging chicks. Does that stop women from trying to bang Chris Brown? No, because the idea that the player motif hurts you as a man is a lie perpetuated by men with no game and women.
Right. Women
who've been hurt by players. That's why.
Yeah.
The player motif is a good one to have, especially if you don't have any attraction triggers.
What about, that's the thing though. If you could also say like, hey, preserve your reputation, keep it clean and simple and do this stuff you don't have to proclaim it out loud.
Again, you live in a country where a man porn star while his wife was pregnant and you elected him president of the United States. You're worried about your reputation. I would stop.
Well, business is different, right?
Okay, that's even fine with business. Even with business, it doesn't make that big of a difference because most people don't care.
Yeah.
And by the way, there is a double standard. Men can get away with a lot more than women can. If my flight commander when I was in the Air Force had banged a bunch of dudes, she would probably have gotten in trouble. If I had banged a bunch of girls when I was a lieutenant, no one would have cared. There really is a double. If women want to say there's a double standard, there's absolutely a double standard. Here's the part you can post.
Yeah.
Being in a Muslim upbringing, what it does is it requires less stimulus. So because she's less addicted to stimulus, she's less likely to cheat on you. She actually is. Like growing up that way. The reason why we say good girls and bad girls is bad girls, what they really are women that succumb easier to stimulus. Good women do not. Good women. We're not saying good women. I don't want to be that. I don't want to turn this into an ethical thing. Women less likely to cheat on you. Let's just say it that way. Women less likely to cheat on you are going to succumb to less stimulus. Basically, what is the percentage chance if Michael B. Jordan or Chris Brown snuck into your girl's DMs, would she open it? You take that percentage chance, that's the level of stimulus she needs. If it's a 100% chance, then she requires a lot of stimulus. If a woman in a relationship is going to answer Chris Brown or Michael B. Jordan's DMs, or Tyga or whoever, then her necessity for stimulus is high and the likelihood of her cheating is high. This is undeniable.
Right.
If she's like, no, I have a man, I would never open that. I don't care about that whatsoever. Her necessity for stimulus is lower. Or maybe she barely even posts on social media. Her necessity for stimulus is lower. Her likelihood of cheating is decreased. By the way, I'm not making a commentary. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Right,
what I'm telling you is this is the reason why a woman might not cheat and another woman might cheat.
Right.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about attraction triggers. Now, there is a difference when it comes to like behavior. For sure, a woman's behavior may be different. I don't want a girl who's had too many partners because there's data that pretty much shows that she's more likely to like get tired of the relationship and leave. But like the idea that this is one of the biggest things I get. I'll get German clients, I'll get Indian clients, I'll get some Muslim clients, and they'll come in there and they're like, Michael, I'm worried about doing this because this is not how my mommy told me I get good girls. And it's like, that's not true. And then I'll have guys come on the call and these guys are like, they work in Nightlife or their guys are just really good with women. And they'll explain to them was like, dude, this girl right here, she's been with one dude and she slept with me on the first night because my game is on point. Game is game. And guys don't understand that. They're like, no, game wouldn't work on good girls. Yes, it fucking would. That's why she's looking for a traditional upbringing. As soon as women get 28, 29, 30, they become good with God again. They want to become right with God. Women have an advantage over men as far as sexual market value that goes up to about 29 years old. At 30, they're even. And then after 30, men actually start having an advantage. What's the average age for first marriage in the United States? Want to take a guess?
Like 25?
It is 29 years old. I just gave it away because that's the point at which women don't have the advantage anymore. So of course they're like, I want to check out of the sexual marketplace. I need to find the best thing I can at 29 because I'm starting to realize at 29 I can't get the guys I get at 23.
How do you find a girl that's not going to cheat on you, a clean girl, if she's younger too and all that, like, 20s?
I would look for, so the only thing I look for with a woman is the level of stimulus she needs in order to get by on a daily basis. If you are a good man to her and you provide for her and she still requires tons of stimulus outside the relationship, any stimulus outside the relationship without you, babe, I'm going to go on a girls' night. We're going to go out getting drunk. And I'm like, and I might tell a girl, but like, yeah, but your friends are hoes. Yeah. Like I'm not opposed to you having fun, but your friends are hoes.
Yeah,
your friends
you hang
want
with
you to
four
cheat.
people that are like this, you're going to become the fifth.
You see her friends and you're like, your friends all require more stimulus and you require stimulus from your friends. So you're more likely to cheat. That's the only thing I would look at. How much stimulus do they require?
Does every girl who works, like for example, girls who work in nightlife, like let's say.
I would say everyone. I know a ton of girls that work in nightlife. They work their job, they go home and they lift and then they get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go back to work. I don't think, it's like, to me, it's like.
Does that automatically disqualify them?
No.
Or would you say some of them are dateable?
I'll tell you why it doesn't. I'll tell you why it doesn't. Because if you were 21 and could get a job making $240,000 a year, you would do the same thing. So I'm going to say, because of the money, you can have normal, well-adjusted women actually get into nightlife. I'm not going to say that.
So let's go back to like kind of the main focus, right? Is your best advice for men, and what are some of the most common, I know you said your common misconceptions, but like what are the questions you get asked the most?
My best advice for men, I mean, that's easy. First, you have to fix your Instagram. Sorry, the biggest dating app in the world is Instagram. A lot of people were married, they got out of marriages and the Instagram didn't exist. Instagram is the way you imbue status on people today. I'm sorry, that's just the truth. You can try this on TikTok, you can try this on Facebook. If you like women over the age of 38, you can definitely use Facebook. But if you like women under the age of 38, you have to use Instagram. You can't set up parties on TikTok. There's no attractive women on Twitter. You can try Snapchat, but that's mostly girls on OnlyFans. It's Instagram. So first, you have to fix your Instagram. Second, and you know how people have like a dream sheet of people that they want to do podcasts with or whatever? You should have a dream sheet of all the girls you want to come to your events and then guys you want to come to your events. It should be like 10-1, 10 times as many girls as guys. And number 3, you should get as many open threads as you can for all these different girls. These are the first 4 steps of Men of Action, by the way. You should get as many open threads as you can. And usually the way you get open threads is by inviting those girls to different events. And the better event, the more likely you are to get an open thread. So that later on, when you throw your own birthday party, you have open threads with like thousands of girls and you can get them to all come. You understand? Promoters can't mass text girls on Instagram because they puts their request in the request folder. It puts their message in the request folder. If you have open threads, then it doesn't put your stuff in the request folder. And then number 4, and this is the most controversial one. I've been proven right, but people have been arguing about this with me for years. You need 6 female friends to go to the club with on a regular basis. If you have 6 female friends, other women are going to look at you and be like, who is this guy that has 6 women with him? And eventually, you don't even try to sleep with your female friends. What happens in the end, though, is they end up trying to sleep with you because they're seeing all the competition. You can still be attractive to women without hitting on them. This is a massive misnomer, misunderstanding that the pickup community has sort of confused men with. You can be attractive to women without hitting on them, and you showing women an intent. This is the biggest mistake I see men doing. Men will show women intent, thinking that intent creates attraction. Women do not sleep with you because of your intent. They sleep with you because of your status. That's really hard for men to understand. They think they need to go up and they need to tell, you're really beautiful and I want to take you on a date, and somehow that's going to end up winning. No, the reason women tell men to just be themselves is so they can pick out who the losers are quicker, okay? When you go into these situations with women, you need to understand very clearly that women are interested in a man's status, not so much of his intent. And this is just a massive miscommunication. When you go out and you have like 10 girls, like it's really funny because I'll have guys, they'll hit me up and they'll be like, Michael, if I go out with 20 girls at once, how do I end up closing one of them and having sex with them? And I'm like, you know how I know you have never been out with 20 girls before? And he's like, why? I was like, because you just asked that question. No guy who's been out with 20 girls is asking me, how do I close a girl? Any guy who's been out with 20 girls before, like he's getting his ass randomly grabbed and girls are grabbing his dick like while they will walk by because there's so many women there. When you have a disproportionately number of women as opposed to men, and if you've been to Dan Bilzerian's Ignite party, or if you were ever at the Playboy Mansion or like the Maxim parties like 10 years ago when there was like 7 girls for every guy, you understood you have no trouble meeting women in those situations. Women are hyper interested in the men that are there because you have to be high status to get into those situations. So ratio, having a ton of women in your life is one of the reasons why you can generate attraction so easily. Pre-selection is the cheapest, easiest, free attraction trigger that any guy can have. That's the number one piece of advice I would give a guy.
Would you ever settle down?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, my intention was to settle down. My relationship, my most recent relationship ended mutual ending, very happy for her, wish her nothing but the best. We were just in different places in life. My priority right now is my business, but I absolutely want to settle down, yes.
Yeah. And then would you recommend like to men, like do you tell them like, hey, this is a means to an end? Like if you find a woman that hits X, Y, and Z, like you should be with them. Do you still believe in marriage?
Absolutely, I do. I don't necessarily believe in marriage the way it's done.
Marriage.
Yeah, contract marriage, not so much. Religious marriage, definitely.
Right.
Finding a great woman to have kids with, I fully endorse.
Right.
Did you hear Andrew Tate and Elon Musk talking to each other the other day?
I didn't.
They're on Twitter Spaces, and Elon
What's
Musk.
going to happen to Andrew, by the way? You think he's going to get freed? No.
So
they're going to catch him?
I'm very much, so I keep seeing these articles saying, oh, this is the nail in the coffin and he's guilty. And I read the stuff and I'm like, no, this is the stuff they said that he had done before.
Yeah.
I don't see anything new here, number one. The second thing is, I'm sorry, you had 2.5 years. Show me the baby.
Yeah.
Show me something. Stop telling me you're going to show me something that's going to prove his guilt. Show me something. Every time they say, we got him on something, Andrew responds, and Andrew's response actually comes off as kind of like the lover boy thing that he's being charged with. Have you seen this? He basically tells women, hey, I think I want to settle down with you, and then doesn't want to settle down with him. Motherfucker, do you know how many U.S. Navy sailors who are on shore lying to women that they're going to settle down with him to get some pussy? They would all be in jail. Do you know how many desperate men there have been throughout history?
Well, that's not even illegal to do.
No. It is. That's what he's arrested for. Take a second after this. Anybody who's watching this, look up the lover boy method. What I just described. Apparently, talking to girls and telling them that you want to settle down with them when maybe you don't is illegal now. Tell me which part of what I just said is wrong. The lover boy method. Look up love. It literally says in the indictment, lover boy method.
But that's a law they passed?
Yes, in Romania. That's what they're saying.
Romania.
It's part of human trafficking.
It's not in U.S.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, even if he's convicted of that, I don't dislike Andrew any less. Now, if he actually trafficked women, I would have a problem with that.
Right.
I'm not saying he couldn't be guilty. What I'm saying is, you need to show me the baby. You've been sitting there, you've been around for 2.5 years. Show me the baby. Show me something, and you've shown me nothing. And I'm getting a little bit more and more confused. So my question is to all these people who are sure Andrew's guilty. If in 2 years they have not proceeded with a trial, 2 years from now, it will be at 4.5 years. Do you still think he's guilty? At what point, because in the United States of America, you got 72 hours to charge a guy. They didn't charge him for 9 months or over a year. So I'm just curious, at what point are you going to call the Romanian government's bluff and say, bro, where's the evidence? Show me something.
But
why are we not going to trial?
Who wanted him jailed? Because somebody must have wanted him jailed for the Romanian government to do what they did.
I think it's fairly simple. I think he had said at one point he was going to move to Dubai. And if he did so, he was going to take, a lot of wealth out of the country. Remember, they found that one crypto wallet with $300 million on it.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to take that money out of Romania. So what does Romania do? Hey, if you take this money out of here, we're going to arrest you. No, I'm going to leave anyway. And then they just arrest him. I think that's what something to that extent happened. Romania is a poor, corrupt country. So Andrew and I will disagree on this. United States, this would not be happening in the US.
Yeah. So he'd
have 72 hours to be charged, and then then the government would have to show their cards in discovery as quickly as possible. That is one thing. We have an advantage in the United States. You can talk all the shit about the women here being entitled and fat. You can say whatever you want. In the United States of America, you have the right to face your accuser. In the United States of America, we have rules against illegal search and seizure. Your property is protected in the United States of America. The right to personal property. If you go off right now and you commit tax fraud and murder 100 people, you know what they can do with your assets? Nothing. They can seize your assets to pay off liens, and they can seize your assets if your assets were gotten illegally, but they can't just at willy-nilly take your assets. They cannot. I don't care what anyone says. In the United States, your assets are protected. They have 72 hours to charge you. And you have the freedom of speech and freedom of movement. If the government wants to sit there and say that you're guilty of something, the government has to prove their point beyond a reasonable doubt. And it is the government's burden of proof, not the other way around, like what we're seeing here in Romania. That's all I'm saying. I'm not telling you definitively he's guilty or innocent. All I'm saying is show me the fucking baby. I want you to show me that he's guilty instead of me reading these articles on Reddit and Snapchat trying to explain to me why he's guilty. Because I know that stuff's fake. You want to know why? Because I've heard them talk about Bilzerian and nothing they say about him is true. Nothing they say about him is true. Apparently 5 years ago, he was broke and filing for bankruptcy. That never happened.
So we just had Michael Sartain on. Michael, can you tell everybody where they could find you? And also any last comments on anything like your program, stuff like that?
If you cannot replace your girlfriend, your job, and your social circle in 15 minutes, you don't have enough abundance. What I'm trying to help men become, we use the term local celebrity. When you think about The Rock or Tom Cruise, they're like at a 10 out of 10 famous. And then you think about like a janitor, he'd be like at a 0 out of 10 famous. I want to get every man to like a 2 or a 3 level of famous. There's a mid-tier level of fame that didn't exist 40 years ago. Like when you think about streamers like Kai Cenat or Aiden Ross or whatever, there's like a mid-tier level. Well, they're not as as famous as some people, although those guys are actually really famous, but like Aiden Ross or Patrick Bet-David, like a 5, a 6, or a 7 level of fame. I want to get you to a 2 or a 3 where every single hot girl in your city knows what you look like. Everyone in your field has seen your face. Anywhere your field of expertise has seen your face, and it just opens massive opportunities for you. I help men level up in the areas of networking, communication, leadership, and dating. And this is the most comprehensive male self-improvement course that has ever existed. I've got clients that have been with me since we started 4 years ago. They're still with me today. And it is one of the highest satisfactions I've ever seen in my life to help these men. And from these men, when they've given us 200 video testimonials. And the only reason I have 200 video testimonials, you want to know why? Is because the editor couldn't do 500. That's how many people wanted to come up and do a testimonial. So if you're interested in learning more about Men of Action mentoring, you can check me out on Instagram. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Go on Instagram with Michael Sartain. You can go to moamentoring.com if you want to find out about the program specifically. Sam Ovens has his school. With Alex Hermosi, you can go to school.com, skool.com/men-of-action-free. Men of Action Free, and then a hyphen in between each word. And you can join our free school group, which will give you the first 4 steps of MOA, which I described earlier.
Yep.
It's going to give you the 200 video testimonials. It's going to give you Instagram testimonials, and it's going to give you the schedule of all the future events that we got coming up. Perfect. October 17th, we're doing a breast cancer awareness charity. For Babes in Toyland at the Mondrian here in Los Angeles. There's going to be 300 girls and 50 guys, and all the girls are wearing pink to help raise awareness for breast cancer, and I'm the host of that.
Beautiful. All right, so guys, that's Kickin' Ass Taking Names with Michael Sartain.